Hi guys, my name is Peter and welcome to a new video. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about IAM. So IAM is an AWS service and it stands for Identity and Access Management. So if you take a look at the naming itself, Identity and Access Management, it actually kind of provides a bit of idea regarding what the service is about. Identity, which means creating users, creating identities, and access management. It is kind of used to manage the access, provide access, right? So yeah, that is a high level overview of what is IAM. But in this particular video, we are going to dive deep. We are going to understand everything about IAM, and also towards the end of the video, once we gain a bit of fundamental knowledge regarding what is IAM, we are going to get on to the practical part where we are going to create IAM users, IAM groups, and all things in between. And trust me, it's going to be a really informative and interesting video, and make sure that you guys don't skip and watch it till the end. And as always, if at any point if you guys have got any queries, please do mention that in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to help. So first thing, let us kind of go through some slides and understand what really IAM is. So IAM basically has got four main components, and they are IAM users, IAM roles, IAM group, and policies. So we can kind of consider these as the building blocks or the foundation of IAM. So it's really important for us to understand what these things are, at least the basics, in order to kind of basically understand what IAM as a whole is. And as we proceed, we are going to understand each of these components one by one. And let us start off with what is an IAM user. So first, let me give you guys a basic idea regarding what IAM user is by going through the slide. So IAM user is an entity that represents an individual or an application that interacts with AWS services. So this simply means that IAM is a user. It is just like a person like you and me, and it is a user who is going to interact with an AWS service. And as we proceed, IAM user can be assigned with permissions and access levels to control what actions they can perform and which AWS resources they can access. So by this we can understand that each IAM user will be having a set of permissions or access associated with that user, and based on that permissions or access is how they can operate on their AWS account. And now let me give you guys an example and let us understand IAM user in a much better way. So imagine that you are an admin of the cloud department of your company. So you'll be having a lot of departments under you, like the network department, the security department, the storage department, etc. So imagine that you have recruited a new employee for the storage department. So what you basically do is that once a user has been recruited, you create an IAM user for that employee. And since he is for the storage department, you attach certain permissions or policies to that user. And since he is for the storage department, let us assume that you are going to provide him with the S3 full access policy, and you are going to attach that policy to this particular IAM user. And now this particular user will be having the privilege to completely operate the S3 section of the AWS account, or he can make use of the S3 service of AWS. So that is what an IAM user is. It is just like a person who is having a set of permissions that he can operate upon. And now I hope that you guys understand what an IAM user is. And now let's understand the second key component, that is IAM group. So if you understand IAM user, IAM group is going to be pretty easy. So IAM groups are a way to manage and assign permissions to multiple IAM users in a collective manner. And IAM groups allows to group users with similar access requirements and assign policies to the group instead of individually assigning permissions to each user. So let us imagine that you as an admin of the company decided to create a new department called as the compute department. So it's going to be a department where we manage all the servers, and you are going to assign 100 users to this, or 100 employees to this particular department. And what you're going to do is that you are going to create a group called as compute department, and to this particular group you are going to assign certain policies like EC2 full access. And make sure that you understand that we are attaching the policy to the group, and then you are gonna add IAM users. As I said before, you are going to have 100 employees. So each of these employee will be a user, IAM user. And then you are going to kind of assign or add these IAM user to this particular group. And what happens is that when an IAM user is added to this particular compute department, this user is going to automatically inherit the policies of the group. Like we mentioned earlier, this group is having the EC2 full access permission, and just like that, this IAM user will automatically inherit that EC2 full access permission. So by this, you can collectively provide permissions to a large number of users, and this can save a lot of time rather than individually creating a user and assigning a permission to individual users one by one. So that is all about IAM users, IAM groups. And now IAM policies. So by now I know that you guys understood what is policies, because I have been saying that we are attaching permissions or policies to users and groups. So policies or permissions are nothing but they are access control, like EC2 full access, S3 full access, VPC full access. These are policies that enables a user to use certain services of AWS. And IAM policies are JSON documents that define permissions and access control rules. IAM policies are attached to IAM users, groups, or roles to determine what action they can perform on AWS resources and services. So in the AWS management console, we just put a tick mark against the policy that we want. But in the background, what it does is that it actually generates a JSON file and attaches that JSON file to IAM user, group, or roles. And that is how a permission is assigned to a particular entity. And that's all about IAM policies. And now let's learn about IAM roles. So IAM roles are special permissions assigned to entities or services. And one really important thing that you need to keep in mind while learning about IAM role is that IAM role permissions are short-term or temporary. But in the case of the permissions that we attach with IAM users or groups, they are kind of long-term or permanent permissions. But in the case of IAM roles, they are temporary or short-term. And now let's understand what is IAM with an example. So if you have an application running on an EC2 instance that needs to read data from an S3 bucket, you can assign an IAM role to the EC2 instance. This role grants temporary permissions for the instance to access the S3 bucket without the need for storing access key. And I hope that I do not want to provide any other further explanation. It is self-explanatory from the example itself. So that's it. These are the important components or basic fundamentals that you need to know about IAM. And now I'm sure that the practical part is going to be pretty easy because you know the foundational part. And now let's get started with creating some IAM users and groups. Alright, now I am in my AWS console, and let us get started with creating an IAM user. So first thing to do is that I'm going to search for IAM in the search bar, and let's open up IAM right over here. Yeah, so the first thing that we are going to do is that under the access management, I'm going to click on users. So this is a place where we actually create IAM user. So already I have got a single user here. So to add in a new user, I'm going to click on add user button in the top right corner. And here the first thing that they ask for is the user details. And the first field is to provide a username. So this is basically the name of the IAM user. So let's imagine that we are creating an IAM user for the storage department. So I'm going to name it as S3 admin. Alright, so we have provided the username. And the second option is to provide user access to the AWS management console. So if I check this particular IAM user will be having the access to the management console. So let's provide that. And now you can see that AWS is asking, are you providing console access to a person? So you can see I want to create an IAM user. Let's go for that. And now the console password section. So here you can go for an auto-generated password, which means that each time a custom password which consists of some alphanumeric keywords will be generated, or else you can create a custom password for this particular IAM user. So in that case, you need to follow all these different validations. So in this particular case, I'm going to go for an auto-generated password. And here there is another option right here. That is, user must create a new password at next sign in. So what happens is that if you go for auto-generated password, and if you have got this particular option checked in, After the user has signed in using the auto-generated password, they will be prompted to create their own password. So that is recommended by AWS. So let's keep that checked in. So that's it. We have defined the console password settings, and after that I'm going to click on next right over here. And now comes the main part, that is to set the permissions. So there are three different permission options. The first one is to add the user to a group. So we don't have any group as of now, so we are out of that option. And the second one is to copy permissions. So if you have got other IAM user and if you want to copy their permissions, you can do that. And let's do that in another video. And now let's click on attach policy directly. So this is the main part. So this is where you search and attach policies or permissions to an IAM user. So as we discussed earlier, this is a user that is going to be assigned to the storage department. So let us provide S3 full access. Alright, so here you can see the S3 full access, and I'm going to click on the checkbox right over here. And now we have successfully assigned the S3 full access to this particular user. And after that, let's click on the next option right over here. And now we have a review section. That is, the name of the user is S3 admin. The password is auto-generated. The required password reset is enabled, and the permission summary is S3 full access. And you can see that IAM user change password policy. So this is a default policy that is automatically added when we checked in that the user need to create a password when they sign in using the auto-generated password. So this particular policy is automatically assigned, and that is it. Now let's click on create user, and just like that we have got a new IAM user. So here you can see that a console signing URL is provided. The username is here, and we can see the console password, which is nothing but an auto-generated password. So here I can right away email signing instruction. So if a new employee comes in, I can email them this particular information, or else I can download the .csv file and share it like that as well. And if you notice another thing, you can see the Peter Johnson tag right here. It is nothing but it is the account name. So if you take a look at here, you can see that Peter Johnson is basically the user. It is the main user. So this particular IAM user is created on top of the Peter Johnson AWS account. So that is what it signifies. So now I'm going to click on now I'm going to copy this particular URL, and I'm going to open up an incognito window, and let's paste it right over here. And that actually takes us to a custom sign-in window, and you can see that my account ID is being automatically filled in. Now let's provide the IAM username, which I'm going to copy from here, which is S3 admin. Let's paste it, and let's also copy the auto-generated password, and let's paste it right over here, and I'm going to click on sign in. And as you can see, AWS is asking for us to change the password. So I'm going to paste the old password right over here, and let us enter a new password. That is, let us see if this is going to pass the validation. Yeah, it passed the validation. And now we have got an IAM user in an account, in my AWS account. Let's click on this done. Yeah. Now if you take a look at the naming convention, it is S3 admin at Peter Johnson. So as I said before, it signifies that the S3 admin IAM user is under the Peter Johnson AWS account. And now let's go to S3 and create an S3 bucket. So I'm going to search for S3. Let's go to Amazon S3 simple storage service, and let us see if we can create a bucket. So I'm going to click on create bucket right over here. Let us provide my new awesome S3 bucket 1 2 3 4. So that's it. I'm gonna go for all the default option right over here, and let's click on create bucket. And as you can see, we have got our bucket right over here, and let us see if it actually opens up. Yeah, so we can finally say that our permissions worked pretty fine, and we were able to create an S3 bucket. But let's do something else. Let us see if we can access EC2 using this particular S3 admin account. And you need to understand that our admin has not provided us with the access to EC2. He just have provided us with the access to S3. Let us see what happens. So I'm gonna search for EC2, and I'm gonna click on EC2, and let us see what actually happens. and I can see a lot of API error, and I'm going to click on launch instance. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you can see that it is actually taking us to the instance creation page, but we won't be able to launch an instance. So if I click on instances right over here, you can see that you are not authorized to perform this particular operation. So the permissions are working pretty fine, and as you can see, we are able to do only what we are supposed to do, or what is specified by the admin, and what we are actually eligible to do based on the permissions. And now that is clear. We learned how we can create an IAM user. We have successfully created one, attached a policy, and we have also verified that we can only create what we are supposed to do. So now let's see all about IAM user and how it works, how you can create one, and let's see. So let us go back to our main account right over here, and again I'm going to go to IAM, and now let's create an IAM user. So now let's click on IAM user groups under access management, and yeah, so this is where we actually create user groups. So basically previously I have actually said that we can imagine that the admin is creating a new department called as the compute department. Let us kind of follow the same example in the practical section as well. So I'm going to click on create group right over here, and the first thing is to provide a name for our user group. So we are going to name it as EC2 and not really compute department. Yeah, this is going to be our user group name, and right away you can see that I can add users into this particular group, and our S3 admin is right over here, but let us wait. So from the attached permission policies, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to click on that, and let us attach the EC2 full access, and I'm going to attach the EC2 full access, and let us create a group. Alright, I guess I'm not allowed to put it in space, and I want to click on create group, and just like that we have a new group called as compute department. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to users again, and let us create a new user. I'm going to click on add user, and the name of this particular user is going to be server admin, and I'm going to provide access to the management console. It is going to be an IAM user, auto generated password. User must create a new password. Yeah, let's click on next, and here I can directly add this particular user to the user group. So now what I can do is simply click on the compute department user group, and I can click on next. I can review everything over here and click on create user. And now if you go to users, let's simply download the CSV file. Let's go to users, and now if I open up server admin, we can see the policy attached. That is the same as that of our user group, that is compute department. That is, we have got Amazon EC2 full access, and the IAM user change password is nothing but, since we enabled that particular check option to kind of enable the user to set a new password, the IAM automatically attached this particular policy. So you can see that attached via directly, so that is what it is specified. And just like that for EC2 full access, it is attached via the group compute department. Now I hope that you guys understood the difference between IAM user, IAM groups, and the advantage and benefit of using the user groups. I'm not really gonna sign into this particular IAM user and see if the permissions are working perfectly fine or not. We have already seen that in the previous section while we did the IAM user, so I don't think that we need to waste time going there. So that is all about user groups, and now we are left to deal with IAM roles, which we'll discuss in a second. So guys, when it comes to the IAM roles, so I'm going to click on the roles option right here under access management. It is going to take us to this particular page. So IAM role, as we already seen, it is basically a service that provides permissions to other AWS services to operate on behalf of you. So here you can see all the roles. So for example, if I open up AWS service role for Elastic Load Balancing, so this basically allows Elastic Load Balancer to call AWS services on your behalf. So we are basically providing ELB the permission to access other services that is specified. So we won't be going that deep into IAM roles in this particular video, because IAM roles itself is a bit complex, and we kind of need to have a separate video to explain it in detail, which we'll be doing in an upcoming video. In this video, I'm going to give you guys an overview. So you can attach these kind of roles based on the requirement to a service or an account to work on your behalf. So as I already said, these are temporary credentials. And if I click on create role right over here, you can basically specify the trusted entity type. It can be an AWS service like an EC2, a serverless Lambda, or it can be an AWS account, web identity, or other entity types. And here the use case can be specified like allow an AWS service like EC2, Lambda, or other services to perform actions in this account. So which means that I can provide permissions to an EC2 instance or a serverless function made using Lambda to kind of access these services. And just like that we have seen in the presentation, so I can provide the EC2 instance with an S3 access permission. So EC2 instance can automatically read the data from an S3 bucket. So this is basically the how the IAM roles work. You provide a certain set of permissions to a service like EC2, and they operate on its own. And you can also select various other services from this particular list as well. So once you specify the trusted entity, you can attach the permissions, and then you can simply create the role, and based on your permission set, the entire workflow works according to that. So that is all about IAM roles. So I hope that you guys got a basic idea regarding what IAM as a whole is. We learned about IAM roles, we created IAM users, IAM groups, we attached policies, and learned a lot of interesting things regarding IAM. So thanks a lot for watching, and as always, if you have got any doubts, please do let me know in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to help. And also do let me know what you guys think about the video or anything that I need to improve. All suggestions are welcome. And that's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.